Ever since Avengers Endgame was released, comic fans have been hungry over the suggestion that our favorite superhero cinematic universes might have reached the point in time where other Earths from their heavily detailed multiverses might be explored. Big sentence, big concept. This extends past the Marvel Universe too. Having the concept of a multiverse introduced in one of the biggest and successful franchise films is an honor that is theirs, but it also opened up mainstream audiences to becoming familiarized with the concept of multiverses in general. Meaning, it wouldn't be surprising if comic adaptations of the future took more liberties and were set in alternate universes. So today we have drafted up our wish list of alternate universes we'd love to see adapted up on the big screen, with our list of the top 10 alternate universes that need to be in movies. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video to let us know if you agree with our picks and tell us what other universes you think should have made the list. Now let's get to it. Number 10, the Marvel Zombies universe, Earth 2149. A good old zombie killing flick featuring our favorite Marvel heroes and villains, where morality is thrown out the window and is literally a bloody struggle for survival? Yeah, sign me up. Marvel Zombies takes the basic premise of most zombie films and adapts it into a universe populated by superpowered individuals. Characters are infected, then they go around trying to eat one another, infecting others, till the Earth has turned into complete chaos. Although it does have a pretty bleak ending, with a handful of heroes, most memorably the Hulk, eating Galactus and thus having enough power to completely devour the entire universe, much to their dismay when food starts to run out, it's still like a really fun read. It's also worth noting that this universe at one point did cross over with the 616 universe, but we'd fear that incorporating that into a movie might get messy, and we'd probably lose a few characters that we'd like to keep kicking around the MCU. In at 9, the LARVAL universe, Earth 8311. Earth 8311 is known as the LARVAL universe. Get it? Because it rhymes with Marvel, larval. And while it's often seen as a parody universe of sorts, its characters do have a lot of merit, like the spectacular Spider-Ham, alongside other animalized versions of our favorite characters, including the Fantastic Fur, Iron Mouse, and many more. It is a really fun and kid-friendly superhero bash that would surely entertain in cinemas. Not only would it make for a great family-friendly PG film, but if done correctly in an animation style like Into the Spider-Verse, we could really have an awesome hit on our hands. And hey, we could all do with a little bit more good wholesome fun, am I right? And at number 8, Superman Metropolis. This one is for all you film buffs out there. Superman Metropolis, the first part of a trilogy that came out in 1999, is part of a trilogy that is based on German expressionist cinema. Specifically, 3 stories that are patterned after 3 classic films: Metropolis, Nosferatu, and The Blue Angel, each one starring one of DC's Trinity, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Taking plot points and stylistic cues from these films, each part continues a story that loosely adapts them, and makes for some stark and memorable imagery throughout. Also, Batman Nosferatu, combined into one character, is scary as hell and so interesting. And at number 7, Gotham by Gaslight. If German expressionism is a little bit too heavy for you, then Gotham by Gaslight might be the answer to your period piece comic book cravings. One of DC's most iconic alternate universe stories, Gotham by Gaslight is a one-shot comic that takes place during the 19th century, with Bruce Wayne making his debut as Batman at the same time that serial killer Jack the Ripper arrives in Gotham. Considered to be DC's first Elseworld story, it has Bruce rubbing shoulders with historical figures the likes of Sigmund Freud, and he even comes across the 1889 version of the Joker, a man who poisoned his wife, tried to commit suicide, but was left with a permanent grin thanks to said poison. The majority of the story, though, follows Bruce trying to solve the Jack the Ripper murders, and it ends with some shocking revelations. And at number 6, the 1602 universe, Earth 311. From one period piece to another, let's take a look at one of Marvel's universes that plop comic book characters into another era. We're talking the 1602 universe, which takes place in the year 1602, and largely in Europe, with our heroes filling in for some major historical roles, like the discovery of the New World, North America, in case you missed that day in history class. 1602 was created by Neil Gaiman and Andy Kubert, and explores a simple concept. What if the Age of Heroes began in the Age of Exploration? Now there's a whole plotline that actually ties Earth 311 to Earth 616 thanks to Captain America, but we think the cinematic adaptation of this story could just kind of skip over that and merely establish itself as a different Earth in the multiverse. Don't complicate something that's already good on its own. And at number 5, The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns exists on the alternate Earth of Earth 31. If we are going by pre-Flashpoint standards here, people. But for the sake of this hypothetical, that is neither here nor there. The Dark Knight Returns is one of the most iconic Batman stories that DC has ever produced, and one that explores the aged psyche of Bruce Wayne in a way that has been replicated time and time again in other DC works. It is a storyline that was partially borrowed for Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman, although was watered down heavily. Bruce wasn't old, which was kind of a big thematic thing throughout, and also it just wasn't good thanks to the inclusion of a billion other adapted storylines and really poor direction choices. Sorry, it's not a good film. Controversial opinion, come at me in the comments. I apologize, it's just true. Anywho, opinions aside, if The Dark Knight Returns was properly adapted, it could make for one of the most grim and fascinating cinematic takes on Batman yet. I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see an aged Bruce Wayne running around with Carrie Kelly's Robin in a futuristic but familiar dystopian Gotham. Could be dope. If done right, that is. And at number 4, Kingdom Come. Speaking of iconic DC alternate universes, the 1996 Kingdom Come miniseries is one Elseworlds imprint that we would love to see come to life. Created by Alex Ross and Mark Waid, it tells a deconstructionist tale set in the future, where traditional superheroes are now considered out of touch, while new vigilantes grow increasingly immoral and irresponsible. As you can imagine, these two factions have a whole lot of conflict brewing between them. And who of course is in the middle of all this? None other than Batman, who has assembled a team to try to de-escalate this conflict and prevent a world-ending superhuman war. It's considered Ross's grand opus, and it's even been compared to Alan Moore's Watchmen at times. Plus, the artwork is brilliant, and it'd be really cool to see a talented director take that as inspiration to do something really fascinating stylistically with the story. And at number 3, Age of Apocalypse Earth 295. While we may have adaptations kicking around that include parts of Marvel's Earth 295 Age of Apocalypse timeline, looking at you Legion, we've yet to have a fully comprehensive adaptation of Age of Apocalypse. It is arguably one of the publishing giant's most intriguing alternate realities to date. Long story short, Legion, who is Charles Xavier's son, goes back in time to try to kill Magneto, but instead accidentally kills his own father. Then when Apocalypse shows up in that newly divergent timeline, everything goes to thanks to Xavier not being around to rally the troops. Magneto does step up, but it's almost too late. The world is in shambles, and Apocalypse manages to conquer large portions of it. The timeline follows the resistance against Apocalypse and features a slew of brand new characters, along with reinvented versions of ones that we already know and love. Beast becomes Dark Beast, an evil alternate who is sadistic AF, Wolverine and Jean Grey are a couple, and Rogue gets hitched to Magneto and has a family. Now, the original story has quite the explosive ending too. Pun entirely intended there. That would make for one hell of a potent conclusion to a feature film. And at number 2, The Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. The Ultimate Universe is a beloved one of Marvel's. It essentially took all of Marvel's characters and the universe itself and rebooted it, reimagining it and modernizing it. Many characters were given brand new origin stories too. So for example, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne have an incredibly toxic and destructive relationship. Janet can also transform into a humanoid wasp, and Hank at one time tries to murder her with bug spray. Yeah, there's some dark stuff that happens in this one, guys. The Hulk is a complete monster, pretty much doing whatever the hell he wants, and Miles Morales takes up the helm of Spider-Man, who is arguably one of the most noble and likable characters in that entire universe. In addition to this, the Ultimatum storyline that occurred in it, many credit to destroying this universe. And it left a lot of characters dead, maimed, or graphically defeated, shocking readers worldwide. Doctor Strange got strangled by his own cape and his head popped. It was gross. Don't even get me started on what Hank Pym does to the Blob. And finally, in at number 1, Superman Red Sun. Superman Red Sun has a simple premise but dire and complicated consequences. What if Superman's ship landed in the Soviet Union rather than the USA? Superman Red Sun has a simple premise, but it comes with dire and complicated consequences. So what is it? What if Superman's ship landed in the Soviet Union rather than in the USA? Now, thanks to a slight shift in the Earth's orbit, Kal-El lands on the other side of the Earth and is raised by Soviets, becoming a weapon and a symbol used by their government that inevitably has the rest of the world frantic and falling to their knees. This Superman's ideologies are twisted, and Lex Luthor, who becomes the President of the United States, takes on the role of a hero trying to work to save the planet in a brand new context that is utterly terrifying. Batman, of course, falls into the role of rebellion leader, as with most evil Superman narratives. All in all, it's an evil Superman story that still resonates today and makes for one hell of a scary hypothetical scenario. Imagine the film that could come out of that. Or the series. Oh. Alright, there we have it, friends. What other alternate Earths from Marvel or DC or whatever other comic book do you think would make for a great film? Or TV series? Give us a shout about that in the comments below and share your 2 cents. If you guys dug this video, you know what to do. Spread that love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more lists just like this one. In the meantime, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.